Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 2, season 2 of the ACG Show and Tell Social Mixer series. I'm your host, Rosa Vasquez, and I'm also the organizer of the ACG Social Mixer series. And if you're new to the Social Mixer series, what this is a space and a platform that everyone who's joining in now will join in later after this is posted on Instagram TV. So those of you who are new to ACG Social Mixer, ACG stands for Anime, Comic, and Gaming Social Mixers. So it's a space both in person and digitally where we can mix and mingle and socialize. Oh, someone said they can't hear me. So let me put this up. Hold on. Can you hear me now? Let's see. Is this on? Let's check. Maybe my headphones aren't. Okay. You can hear me now? Let's check. All right, great. Okay. Sometimes these headphones get wacky. All right, good. So ACG stands for Anime, Comic, and Game Social Mixer. So if you're new, it's a space where you could come together and mix and mingle, gain connections, collaborate, and just local creatives joining together for all things in anime, comic, and gaming, also cosplay related. So if you are living in the New York City area, tri-state area, or anywhere in this globe, I hope you all could come and join in and, take part in this experience. So now we're doing it virtually. It's our second season. So of course, this season of the ACG Social Mixer is sponsored by Tokyo Bronx. So Tokyo Bronx is a cross-cultural mashup of all creatives from mechs, from Tokyo and the Bronx and back. So they're also bringing together creators as well and highlighting them. So thank them also for sponsoring this season of the ACG Social Mixer. So I'm going to bring in my guests shortly. So of course, those of you who are joining live, thank you so much. And if you have any questions for our guests, please leave them in the comment box below. If you join in later, you can post them later as well. So let me bring my guest in. Oops. Everything is always changing up in here. Okay. Thanks for joining.
Hey, what's going on? It's been a minute since I've seen you. So,
There we go.
hi, how you
Hi.
doing?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I see you have everything set up. Oh my God, it's such a lovely background. I love it.
So yeah, we're hanging out in my basement, which is kind of my little photo studio, craft area, and my Wii and Switch are right over there.
Oh wow, awesome. So let me formally introduce you to everybody.
Okay.
So this is Jackie, that's Steggy Rossi. She's a New Jersey cosplayer. She's a fanfic author, and all things Legend of Zelda nerdism, or just anything Legend of Zelda. She is a fan of it, a lover of it. She discovered the Legend of Zelda games in 2018, and she picked up cosplaying in these past couple of years. And she's also a cosplayer as well, and then a fanfic author. So thank you so much. I'm humbled for you to join me on this second episode.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a nice.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself that I missed or that you would love to share with us.
So I have kind of a high pressure cooker job, which means that when I am done with it, I need to really do things that are to really burn off stress. And I'm so the things I kind of tend to do are kind of nerdy and tend to be a little bit more creative than what I might do at work.
Mm-hmm.
So before I kind of got into cosplay, the thing I was doing a lot of was I show scale model horses. So we set them up in like little setups and things like that. And actually, a lot of the skills that I acquired showing model horses and making props and tack and things like that for them translated over really well into cosplay, which was a pleasant surprise.
Wow, yeah. Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, I think my mother-in-law does collect those little figurines, the horses as well. So it was interesting to know it's such a big industry even. I didn't know how big of an industry it could be with those equestrian figurines.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like our big nerd con it's online this year, but it's in about 2 weeks. When it's a live version of it, they have 10,000 people. It's a big deal.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sounds like it. Definitely want to know more about that. So, of course, you being a cosplayer and you starting out in recent couple of years, tell us more. How did you discover for yourself that this epiphany moment came that I'm gonna get into cosplay?
So I'm not 100% sure. Like, I've kind of always been aware of cosplay because, it's kind of becoming more into the pop culture, and some of the stuff people make is really incredible and cool. And I was always like, oh yeah, that's really pretty neat. When I kind of started down the Zelda rabbit hole, though, I started playing the game in like the September of 2018. I was hooked very quickly, and just started like, well, I want to know more about this, so I did a lot of reading, and surely people make fan art for this. Oh yeah, they do. Oh, and just kind of like finding all these other things. And I finally like, buying T-shirts and putting stickers on my car. And at some point, I was like, the algorithm showed me a sword, and I was like, yes, I like that sword a whole lot. And I bought it, and it's a very nice sword, but it's metal and it's fantastic. And I love it. But I was like, now I had it, I'm like, what am I going to do with this now? And then I was like,
yes.
oh, you know what? I could probably cosplay. So I started like asking people I kind of knew who did it, and they were like, "Ooh, you can, but you can't take that sword anywhere." I was so I kind of like. So I kind of was like, I got some stuff and read into it, and it was like, you don't have, and it was kind of like, you don't have to make every single little thing yourself, which is what I was worried about. So I started buying things, and some things I made, if I felt like I could handle it or I couldn't find it, I would make that. The first time I kind of technically went out in costume was at a Ren fair in September 2019. I didn't go out in a wig yet. I didn't have my wig, but I kind of went out, and people knew what I was doing. And then like a week later or 2 weeks later, I think was the first PucciCon, and I went to that. Like I worked the until like mid-afternoon, and then went over there and changed in the bathroom. And I remember at one point I'm looking at myself in the mirror with my bad style wig, and I'm like, you could go home, and I didn't. And I had a lot of fun because I was sure, I was positive someone was going to tell me I was too old to be doing this, and nobody did. It was kind of like, that's cool, you, and it was great. I had a good time.
Of course, PucciCon is known for being like that. That's why I love them so much. And yes, I'm glad that you listened to your intuition and your gut and you stood. It's for everybody, and it's overcoming that, sometimes the inner voices of doubt and being like, I could kick ass and I could do this, and you really did that.
Yeah, I mean, I was still kind of anxious. Like there is a video floating around. Somebody wanted to drag me out and wanted to take, something that ended up on YouTube, and you can just see you can see all the anxiety in my face. And then the next time I came back out, I was a lot more confident. I felt better in what I was doing. I had some props. I didn't have any props to do the first time, and I was like, you really kind of need something. And that same person with the video was like, I remember you from last time. You're like a totally different person. That's what
oh wow, that's great. Yeah. I got anxiety too, and I did my first social mixer event because even though I was from the area, it was just like, you want to bring this, I wanted to bring my social mixers more out there, and it was like, whew, okay, how's this gonna work out? So I had those first jitters, like very stiff in the beginning, but then after a couple of them, my friend saw me again, and he was like, yo, you seem more relaxed and calm now. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think seeing how everyone loved it, and then you pick up a routine, and you pick up things that you love and you're passionate about it. Just you roll with it.
Yeah, I didn't die the first time. I was like, okay,
that's the worst that can happen, right? Yes, so that's great. I love your story and hearing like everyone's cosplay story and like, how they got into it. So you have such an amazing story to share. So I wanted to also talk about you said that you have an interest in wanting to connect with others in the cosplay community. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always more fun to do things with friends. I said I mentioned the plastic horses. I have a lot of friends that I have known for a very, very long time through that hobby. Unfortunately, most of them live far away from me, so I don't have a whole lot of local community. But we would get together periodically at shows or whatever, or con, and kind of do our thing then. So I was like, well, it would be fun to kind of do this with other people I know. And I did the job I had at that time. One of my coworkers was kind of like, she was sort of getting into this at the same time, and we worked very closely. And at one point, she turned to me in like the end of September and was like, "Are you going to Comic-Con?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "So am I." But we ended up going on different days. But we kind of like nerded out about that with each other for a while. So sometimes we get to go, hang out and do things together. I'm still like, I think 2020 kind of like threw a wrench into a lot of this. So I had all these plans, all these places I was going to go, and then none of that happened. I did try an online con, but it's hard because you don't really get to meet people that way. The way you kind of just organically bump into people when you're someplace. So I'm still kind of working on that. I'm a little bit shy sometimes in person. It does take me a little bit of time to kind of warm up and be friends. So I feel like I'm still kind of in that bumping into people and getting to know them and finding out what group is going to work for me at some point. But I'm confident I'm going to get there.
Yeah, I think that's the amazing thing with cosplay communities, because they're so widespread and many different types of personalities and just creative, beautiful people. And it's just finding the right people that work for you. Sometimes it starts with doing cosplay groups. So you love doing cosplay, like for Legend of Zelda series, you find people who do that as well, and you find some kind of commonality with them. And I think that whole idea of finding those in your community and, branching from there, see who they know. And I'm also curious to know, like, because you really enjoy this whole thing with the cosplay communities and when it connects with Zelda. So I want to know more about Legend of Zelda. So I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan myself. Okay. And I'm curious, like, what was it about Legend of Zelda that you love so much? That's one. And then two is, how did you find those connections with other people?
Well, that's okay. So how I got into The Legend of Zelda is I was actually very interested in Let's Go Eevee, the Pokemon games that were coming out.
Right, yes.
And I was kind of curious about those because I was playing a lot of Pokemon Go at the time. And so I finally broke down and bought a Switch. But the Switch came, it was months before those games were going to be released. And I knew that. So I bought a copy of Mario Kart to go with my Switch. And for some reason, the game did not ship with the console, and it was going to be like a week or two later that the game was going to arrive. So I got the console, and it sets up in 35 seconds. And I'm like, well, I want to play with this toy. What do I do? And I turned to Facebook and whined at my friends, and several of them were like, you should try Breath of the Wild because we really think you'd like the horses in that game. This game has really good horses. And I'm like, okay. So I went down to GameStop and bought it. And at that point, I was aware the franchise existed, and all I knew about the game was I wasn't playing someone named Zelda, and the water temple was bad. That's all I knew about the game.
I think we all can say that. Yeah, whoever's played Zelda games know, like, those water temples are always the worst.
Like, the water temple's bad. That's all I didn't know what that meant, but that's what I knew. So I popped the game in, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to approach this game, but I had played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons when I was in high school, so I'm like, I will approach this with the Dungeons and Dragons game, which isn't quite the way to go. But inside of like 20 minutes of starting the game up, I was like, this is great. This is now a lifestyle. This is what we're doing now. And it was just like, at the time I got into the game too, I was not in a great place personally. I had a lot of things going on with family that weren't good, and just it was 2018, and so the game kind of sucked me into. I could go to some place, and if I wanted to go and solve some puzzles, I could do that. If I just wanted to walk around and pick flowers, I could do that. If I wanted to sit on the beach and watch the sunrise and set, I could do that. And I would stay up until like 2:00 in the morning playing this game, and then going to work the next day. At some point, probably 3 or 4 months into being really intense about the game, I started like branching out and looking for, I said to myself, surely people do, fan art for this game. And I went onto Tumblr, and yes, people do fan art. And I made a lot of connections in the Zelda community through Tumblr, through reblogging people's art, and I was posting a lot of screenshots from the game because it's very photogenic, and you can take really beautiful pictures, and like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of doing a lot, just doing a bunch of that, and people were just kind of like recognizing my name because I was just constantly reposting stuff and putting pictures and stuff like that. So I mean, that's kind of, and then after I got done with the game, and I still play it a lot because, you know, it's really good if I'm stressed out. I'm just gonna go pop into Hyrule for a little bit and just screw around, and you know, it doesn't, like, there's nothing you have to do. But I backtracked out to trying some of the other games. I am most of the way through the Ocarina of Time on a 3DS. I started Twilight Princess, but I started it on the Wii, and I don't like the control. I don't like, it's a little sloppy for me, so I'm falling into the lava in the Goron Mines, and I've kind of rage quit for the moment. I'm hoping that port to Switch at some point, because I feel like I've got a better handle on that controller. I did start Skyward Sword, and I got up to a point when they announced that they're doing the remake. I said, I'm just going to play this on the Switch, so I held off on that. So yeah, so it's kind of been like all Zelda all the time since I got the Switch.
Oh, it's such an amazing, beautiful world. I think anyone just gets lost in it. And I totally agree with you. And it's like sometimes real life could just be crazy, you know, and you just need a moment to breathe. And instead of grabbing that Snickers that you could gain weight, you just say, hey, I'm going to go pop in this game and play for a couple hours, you know. I feel like,
where did all that time go?
And I think it's beautiful because that's something I do myself. Like, especially, I think everybody has realized that with the COVID happening, with the whole pandemic, that gaming during the whole pandemic was one of the industries that had risen, and that was because people were staying home and they figured, what can they do? They could just jump into a game, get lost in that space for a while, and that's just something like me and you and other gamers know, that even those who are anime and comics just know that we could just go into this world anytime we can and we need to de-stress, to help level ourselves mentally, emotionally, you know. And I think Zelda's just one of those amazing places, and the games just get more beautiful each time. And I'm sure you saw the latest trailer for Breath of the Wild too.
I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, I was just like, I knew like it was coming up, but for them to show that trailer, it just brings chills. Even now, like, oh my god, this is just so beautiful, so amazing.
I'm planning on taking a week off the game when that game drops just to play it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, no, it's such a great thing, and I think just that game alone is such amazing games, and I can think of other just JRPGs themselves have that nostalgia effect, or they have that effect of just letting people get lost, or even letting people think like deeper about life and about family and friends, and you can make those sort of connections, you know, 'cause, you know, normal people that don't play games, or regular people, whatever they want to call themselves, normies, you know, they say they don't understand, like, because they read books. It's the same thing. Like, if you read a book, you get the message from there. If you watch a movie, but for me, it was always games. Even back when I was young in high school, you know, I even used it when I was writing papers in high school, and you know, it's really resonated with me to understand meanings of life and meanings of when I'm feeling any sort of emotional state.
Yeah, there's definitely a few times in Breath of the Wild with how they present the story to you in that game. And every once in a while, I'd get a chunk of the backstory, and I would just be like, okay, I need to go like think about my life for like 20 minutes about this, because now this is very emotional, and I, you know, change how I feel about things that are going on, and kind of go forth from there.
Right, and I'm glad that they, you know, keep that piece of it a lot. So Disc M asks, how are you doing, and what are we looking forward to most this year when it comes to gaming? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I'm working my way through the Age of Calamity. They got some download stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm kind of working my way through that. There's another bunch of that coming in November. So I will probably, and I'll be doing that in Skyward Sword, you know, when I've got that on pre-order. So as soon as that's ready to go, I will be kicking away on that.
Right. Yeah, I have to get into that. Like, I played Breath of the Wild. I do want to play Age of Calamity because I just love the Legend of Zelda story and franchise.
Age of Calamity is a lot of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's not really a Zelda game. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know those kind of beat 'em
Yeah.
up kind of games because my husband's like a big fan of like those Muso kind of Dynasty
Yeah.
Warrior style games, and I play them together with him whenever it's co-op. And knowing that this game has that element, it even brings more of a very local co-op or just a fun atmosphere to the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I definitely recommend that one.
I think for me, right now I'm playing Genshin Impact. I'm playing that now more regularly because it's just one of those gacha games that if you don't play it regularly, you lose out on certain rewards and things. But besides that, what am I looking forward to? Looking forward to the World That Ends With You, the second part. So that should be coming out soon. Because I played the first one many years ago, and I was always wondering when is the sequel going to come out to this game? Because it was for the handheld. I believe it was DS, I believe. And knowing that this was like way before Persona games came out, and before this was during Kingdom Hearts time. So this game was the beginning of that whole element of like mixing real world stuff with kind of game elements in a way. So I'm looking forward to that game very soon coming out. And of course, Metroid. I think Nintendo this year, Nintendo had a really good E3 show because I really didn't know what was going to happen in E3. Because lately the past couple of E3 shows have been kind of, but I didn't get disappointed with Nintendo at all.
Yeah,
it was very good.
Really good E3.
All right, so I also want to, if you want, it's almost time. Time just flies so by. So I want to get into the show and tell segment.
Okay.
So if those of you who are just joining us right now, I thank you for joining us. And this show and tell segment is we're just going to chat a little bit about the fandom, talk about Jackie being a fanfic author. She's going to maybe show some of her cosplay items that she created and talk a little bit about it. And if you have any questions about anything she shows or talks about, just leave a comment below, okay? So let's talk about the experiences with the fandom. It could be, we were talking about it briefly. So what are some things you've experienced as being in this Legend of Zelda fandom that either surprised you or, was a heartwarming moment in the fandom?
So I've been pleasantly surprised by how kind of open it is. Like I said, I am a lot older than Legend of Zelda. I am a lot older than a lot of the fans that I kind of bump into. I bump into people who they're like, "Oh, I'm so old and I'm 30," and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." Because I'm 52. But I found that people have been really, really accepting. Really, Zelda is like, what I like about it is the canon's so flexible that you can kind of take the base idea of the story and kind of go in whatever sort of direction you want with it, and there'll be somebody there who'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. I'm on board that train." And I find people just really friendly and really open, and open and doing collaborative kinds of stuff, and it's just kind of fun. And so far, I haven't. I know there are jerks everywhere because we're all human beings, and some of us are not. Now.
Right.
And so far, I have really not had that experience where somebody has done something to kind of put me off, which is good because I think at this point I'm established enough that it's not going to be like, "Oh, okay, you're all like, this isn't for me," and I'll take off. So. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think you have a very strong foundation in regards to not only who you are as a person, but also who you want to be as a cosplayer. And, we have to treat things the way sort of even though it's cosplay communities, people are human as well. So it's how to deal with those interactions in person as well.
Yeah.
So before we get into you showing any cosplay items, so what made you, so the fanfic piece, I was really interested in that because I remember doing fanfic pieces with Final Fantasy VII when it first came out many moons ago, and I think about it to this day and wonder how far it would have went. I read fan fictions online, and some of them even better sequels or stories, that lead on. So I want to know what made you become a fanfic author, and what are some things that you have written so far?
Well, I mean, mostly 2020 is what made me a fanfic author. when I was in grad school in the 90s, the X-Files was a big deal. And
oh, yes.
oh yeah, you know, so I discovered fanfic through the X-Files, and you know, that's very interesting stuff. I did write an X-Files story that I never actually published, and I thought was lost, but I found it on my hard drive last year.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened with the writing thing is I kind of like I had that one scene in my head, and it wouldn't go away. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write this one thing down, and I did. And then I was like, well, you know, I can expand upon this a little bit more, and I kind of eventually, you know, kicked it out to about 6,500 words, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I went to some other people and was like, can you read this, and you know, what do you think? And they were like, well, this is good, but what happens next? And at that point, I was like, well, I guess I'll got an AO3 account and started putting it on AO3, and people were actually reading it. And it ended up. I published it as I went, which I don't actually personally recommend, because I wrote an 88,000 word fanfic over about an 8-month period last year.
Oh man, that's dedication.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's done. Yeah, I got it all done. And I'm very, very happy with it. And people seem to like it. But, I mean, I was doing that because, again, it was 2020. Everything was shut down. The job I had was already pretty stressful, and it was one of those jobs that the stress and the pace, you know, doubled and tripled. And it is still very, very, like, we're still kind of drowning in, you know, there's more need than what we can supply. And then all of my usual outlets to kind of blow off steam were not there. So I had to do something, and that something turned out to be 88,000 words of fanfic.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think you said the key word there, like with the whole pandemic, it was really deciding which option you had. You know, like some people had no choice and they had to just shut down and really just be present with themselves and decide what do they want to do with themselves in the future. And then some people decided, you know what, all that stuff that I put to the side, I think now is the time to come back to it. Or something I had in the back of my mind, I think I'm going to come back to that. And 88,000 words later, and you did that. I was wow, I got to give you props to that. That's amazing.
I mean, I did get lucky in that I kind of fell into 2 different small communities of Zelda writers that were fantastic and like very supportive, and you know, just nice to be around. And you know, I am still doing some writing. I'm not writing the way I was last year, you know, but you know, it's nice to have that kind of community, because again, it's a place you can go and bounce ideas off, and you know, can you proofread this for me, and I'm having trouble with this, and what should I do? And you know people are starting to draw me stuff to go with my work, and it's yeah. So that's been really nice, and I really think that when I was in the middle of writing my long fic last year, I was kind of like, I'm just going to bark this up and be done. But I don't think that's true now. I think I'm probably going to, you know, stick around, maybe not write quite as prolifically as I had, but stick around in the community and hang out, because they're fun. They're fun people.
So with fan fiction, what have you decided to do with all of this work you've written so far? Is there any like ideas to maybe collaborate with someone and commission someone to draw pictures for it, or maybe bring it out piece by piece? Like, well, how do you have any?
Pretty much almost everything I've written is already out there. I did for long fic, I did commission some artwork. I had somebody surprise me with some. I had somebody surprise me with some on a short story that was related to the main fic this week. I've definitely, the one writer group I'm in, we kind of do exchanges a couple of times a year, so that's been fun, because you know, it's a small enough group, I kind of know everybody in it. So you can, the person you're writing for gives you prompts. They don't know who's writing for them. You don't know who's writing for you. And then we have kind of a set date, and everything gets revealed, and we all read each other's stories. And it's fun to do that. You know, it's fun to kind of write for somebody else. Or we're setting up a thing right now, because this one group I'm in, everybody kind of has their own little alternate universe or their own little thing that they kind of specialize in, that we're trying to organize a thing where we're going to write in each other's universes and kind of play in each other's sandboxes. That's still getting set up a little bit. But,
oh, wow, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, very much. That one's going to be fun. I'm excited to see whoever's going to write in mine. So.
Oh, wow, I'm looking forward to that. So with these cosplay items, so would you love to share some of your cosplay items with us?
So I mix and match a lot as far as what I make and what I bought. I'm trying to make more of my stuff because I do think I would like to compete at some point. Because I'm a very competitive person, and that's how I roll.
It keeps those creative juices flowing, so good.
Like, oh, that's cool. How did you do that? Or I could do this thing better. So I don't have it here, but I had recently made the Great Eagle Bow from Breath of the Wild, but I somehow blew the pattern up so it was way bigger than it was supposed to be. And it was super impressive. It was super impressive, but it kept falling apart. So I'm in the process of redoing it as smaller so it's more manageable. But what I have over here, I have a couple of shields, as a Daybreaker. This is actually a kit that you can get. So it was all just the pieces and a video to kind of how to put it together. So that's what I made that last year.
Oh, interesting.
And it's got lights. I don't know if you'll see it here. But it does light up.
Oh, very nice. It's great. So that one already came like with the pieces, and you just had to just know where to put them and sort of assemble it. Okay.
Yeah, but like the round piece was 4 chunks of foam at one point. So it was putting it together and shaping it and then painting it and doing all of that kind of stuff. But it was also good to kind of learn because, you had to kind of shape some of the pieces. You had to, if you didn't cut them perfectly, you then had to take like foam clay and kind of make that so it's smoother. And I kind of look at it, and it's a cool shield, and I like it, but I look at it, and I'm like, I would do this differently the next time I do it. The shield I made all by myself, and I think it was the pot lid.
Oh, yes. Simple but effective.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's ridiculous, but it works. And I made that all by myself. I, drew the thing. Those are the googly eyes. Painted it. I love the pot lid.
Oh, cool. It's really awesome.
The pot lid's super fun. It's also ridiculous. Everything fell down here. And, have the matching soup ladle to go with it. Also.
Cute.
Yeah. And then the other thing I have 3 different Master Swords. This is the
really?
The first one was the metal one that I can't take anywhere, except for photo shoots.
Yes.
Very popular at the photo shoots. But the second one I got because I need a sword. So I got, this is the $20 sword you can buy on Amazon.
Okay.
It's the one everybody has. But when I got it, I was like, I don't like the paint job on it. It looks cheap. So I sanded seams on it and primed it and repainted it, and then I made the sheath that goes with it. So I took that was like the thing I made to go to New York City Comic Con.
Awesome.
And when I pulled that sword out, because everybody had the sword, the same sword, but not customized, I pulled it out and everybody's like, what's that? And I was like, Amazon, but it's got a paint job. So
it's cool when you find pieces and you could just tweak it and fix it up in some way that suits your interests.
Yeah, and it makes it a little bit more fun. It's a little sparklier than how it came to me originally. I know it just looks better. I like how it looks better.
All right, so some of your cosplay costumes, I've seen them on Instagram and they're amazing. So tell me the process when it comes to designing that. Like, how do you go through that process step by step?
I sit down. I have an actual physical notebook, and I sit down and I break down break it down. I mean, this is probably true with all video game characters, but Link is a lot of layers. Like he's constantly got like 2 or 3 layers of stuff going on, no matter what he's doing. So kind of like break it down, kind of working from the inside out. And because I'm still kind of new to this, like there were some weird decisions I kind of had to make. Like at one point, a friend of mine asked me, "Well, are you playing are you a female Link, or what are you doing? And I was like, I hadn't really thought about it that deeply. And then I did and bought a binder. And as soon as I bought that, all my equipment felt better, which annoyed me. So, so you kind of start from there and then kind of work your way out. I've gone through, the first blue tunic I had was really kind of a glorified t-shirt. It had vinyl on it that started to peel off, so that didn't work for very long. The second one I got that I'm currently wearing was cut for men, so it fits me very well kind of up here, but it gets really snug around my hips, and it's not long enough, and and I'm constantly like, I'm constantly pulling it down, and I was like, all right, I don't like that. I didn't like the undershirt that came with it, so I went and made my own undershirt last year, like made the paper pattern, cut everything out. I hand sewed it. I don't have a machine because I don't sew. And I'm right now working on my own version of the blue tunic with the white pattern on it. I'm embroidering, and that is taking forever. Yeah, but my goal is to kind of like get that done in time for Atlantic City and wear it there. The other things I've got to do. I want to. So I've got like a pair of boots.
So much and so little time, right?
Ideally, I would like to. The sheet of slate I have right now is a 3D print that my phone goes into, but I have one I've made out of foam that, again, my phone will go into, and I know now how it's going to go together, but I kind of like, I need to put it together. And it'll light up and the whole thing. It'll be very cool when I'm done with it, but I would like to get that done in time for the end of August. Gosh, there was something else. It's probably the blue tunic. And then I've got some leather work that I bought, but I'm probably going to go, there's a Tandy just not very far from me. They're a big leather warehouse. I'm probably going to go and just get strapping to kind of make my own belt, because that'll be another thing that I've made out of it. And then it'll be like, at that point, I will probably have made the only thing I wouldn't have made will be the pants that I wear, because they're just leggings I bought on Amazon. They're not anything special.
Right, yeah. So you're just taking things and putting it together, sort of like that do-it-yourself kind of closet cosplay kind of thing. And yeah, I think that's sometimes the best way to go, because sometimes you see these costumes, they make them online and they don't fit, either it's huge or it's too small, and it's like, what can you do to, fix this up for that, it suits your style.
Yeah, but it's just like, I'm a list maker, so I make lists and break things down and then check things off. So I like to do that too. And I kind of I really think that Link is always going to be a little bit of work in progress for me. I haven't ever really declared him done. I don't know that I ever will. I mean, on top of it, he's got so many Oscars and best of all. There's a lot of things you can do with him outside of this.
Yeah, he's gonna be your test study, like you just have. It's good to focus on one character, and then especially new into cosplay and new into creation, you just focus on that one character, because you get little bits that you know already that you want, and then you just go from there. You expand that.
Yeah. So
I wanted to go into. I've seen a couple of your TikTok collaborations. Those are great.
I love.
So tell me a little bit more about. How did you get into because I'm not even into TikTok myself. People say you got to get into it, especially as an influencer or digital content creator. And I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to see if I'm not there yet.
Yes.
So I got to give you such amazing credit for getting onto TikTok, and just tell us more about what made you get on it and do these cosplay collaborations.
Well, I don't know that I've completely figured TikTok out either.
But at least you're in there, you're one step ahead of me, and you're learning it, you're going with it, so it's great.
So that's another group on I've fallen in with a little group of cosplayers that are mostly Zelda cosplayers on a Discord, and most of them are younger, because they get TikTok a little better. And when I was trying to figure it out, and I've been trying to figure it out for a while, kind of what I tried to do last year too was teach myself the dubious art of selfie, and I was going like, I'll make these videos and stuff, and I have the space to do it in, and blah, blah. And then it was hard to kind of get into it with other things that were going on. And then, this year, I was like, in March, I was like, I'm definitely going to do this, and I kind of went and picked the brains of my, younger cosplayer friends, and I was like, how do I do this? What am I doing? And they were like, and one of them was like, basically broke me down and gave me a whole, like, here's what you need to think about with lighting and, play with it. And and I was like, oh, okay, this is way more complicated than I thought. But they also were really helpful in that they sent me videos. They were like, here are some things you can do at. Like, just to get started, you're not trying to find people, but they sent me videos to use. So I started doing that. I love the duets. I think they're a lot of fun. I know TikTok kind of like suppresses them, so you don't see them as much. The Zelda cosplayers seem to really, really enjoy them. So, everybody's kind of duetting each other and doing that. So that is a lot of fun. What I tend to do is, if I'm in the mood to kind of go and do it, because I kind of have to be in the mood to do it. I'm constantly like saving sounds and saving things I think I might want to do at, and that's another list somewhere. But when I kind of am in the mood to kind of do it, it's like, okay, I suit up, come down here, pick a backdrop, and we'll bang out like a dozen of them, or a dozen, a dozen and a half or something like that. And then I post those on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I do something on Instagram Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I take Sunday off. So I have something that I can kind of kick out somewhat regularly. And I don't know. For me, it's just like, I'm not looking to get like 1,000 followers. I think I have 100 right now. And it's fine, because, I go and look at my videos like, 200 people have seen my ridiculous nonsense today. That's a good day.
That's a great way to look at it sometimes, because I feel the younger generation, and, I'm with you when it's like, as long as I get organic, actual people looking at this and making a community out of it, making connection out of it, learning something from it, but sometimes with the social media generation and what's to come, it's sometimes that could be very like could hurt more than help, because you want all these thousands of followers and, the influencer, thing of it. And I think social media is trying to find ways to limit that whole idea of like, you don't need all these followers to feel loved. You don't need all these followers to feel like you're worthy or anything. And I think it's great with people like you and me just to come on and be like, hey, we want to make organic connections with people. We just want to have, enjoy it. What it's for? Be creative.
I mean, I kind of look at this like, this is my hobby. This is not my job. This is stuff I do for fun. If other people enjoy it, that's great. I did have a very bad relationship to my stats on AO3 for a while last year, and I had to get out of that mindset, because it's like, your value is not your stats. Your stats are not your value. That's how I kind of look at TikTok too. If people are commenting on my stuff, or somebody duetted me this morning, people are doing that, great, cool, fun. That's a lot, that's a good day.
Yes, definitely feel that. So are you currently accepting any TikTok cosplay collaborations?
Yeah, my duets are open. Pretty much for anybody. So far, not good. I have been fortunate that I haven't had people be mean or creepy. I think I'm probably old enough that nobody's going to creep on me, and if somebody does, they're going to do that at their peril.
Right. Like, that's just, some people are just bizarre.
So I haven't had, anybody be negative for that. So my duets are kind of open to anybody. So, yes, if anybody wants to come and, go through my stuff, because I'm, posting 3 times a week pretty regularly, since March. So there's a lot of crap there to look at. I would welcome it. Please do come. It's fun. It's fun. Let's play.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think it's going to be such a fun experience, especially, just thinking outside the box and learning things from each other as well. So it's a learning and fun experience for everyone. So we're coming down to the...
I definitely have, watching other people and what they do, I've definitely gotten ideas to be... I mean, because I can look at myself and be like, I'm just not, I just don't think about how to do things, and I'm still figuring it out, with the editing and stuff like that. So watching other people do stuff and how they do stuff is also real helpful, because, you can then apply it to your own stuff.
Okay. So before my last 2 questions, I wanted to ask if you were comfortable with it. maybe just sharing a little bit about your fanfics? Because I know some people are very,
yeah.
keep it close to the heart.
I'm
so
go read them. I like them. I am Dr. Steggy on Archive of Our Own, TikTok, Tumblr. The only place I'm not just Dr. Steggy is on Instagram, where it's Dr. Steggy _cosplay. But yeah, I am completely out there with, like, my friends know I write fanfic. I do not care. It kept me sane last year.
Right.
So,
is there any little bit of an example of one example that you can remember from your fanfic piece that you could share, or any kind of story that you could think of, remember on the top of your head?
Well, I mean, the big story is about a version of Link and Zelda who are in their 40s. Link is 42.
Interesting.
Link is 42 and he draws the Master Sword. So he's kind of been a little bit of a screw up to that point. So he doesn't feel very worthy. And the external threat is the Zelda game. I had to write around it, but mostly the game is about him getting over himself and getting to a point where he can, go ahead and defeat the big bad and do that. And then there's a couple of side picks off of that were just funny little things that didn't fit into the main story for the most part. There's a story about him when he was 10 and he has his first pony. There's one about him throwing pots, because that was a whole trope about Zelda games I didn't get for a long time. Like, people were sending jokes about this, and I was like, what? I don't understand why people are doing this. And I had to look it up, and I was like, I'm supposed to be breaking stuff? Like, that didn't occur at all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like, I get, now that I play the Zelda games, so whenever I go to Home Depot and I see all these pottery things, it's like, the OCD kicks in.
There's gonna be some money in there somewhere. But yeah, I had no idea I was supposed to be doing that, so I was not doing any property damage. And my friends were like, "Oh, that's funny," and I'm like, "I don't get it."
No, that's some great stuff. I think it's such a thing. Such a new perspective of Zelda, and it's a fun, funny way to like look at it. Just. Also learn lessons, take like something that you love and you love about the Zelda game, and that's what fanfic is about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's some
so
go ahead. There's some go ahead. There's some straight up Breath of the Wild stuff in there. Most of what I've written is pretty short. It's under, it's 3,000 words or under. There's just the monster is a standalone at the moment. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I have another big pick in me or not. We'll see.
Yeah, sometimes it just happens, like, what they call like writer's block happens, creator's block happens, and then a moment pops in your head and you just get right to write it. I have a friend right now, he had writer's block for a while now. He's getting every night right into it, so we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yes, of course, but I do thank you sharing some of those fanfic creations that you've made so far, and also talking about your cosplay TikTok collaborations. So if you're interested in anyone doing that, please shoot a private message to that Steggy here. And my last question before I ask where people can find you is, so with the ACG Social Mixer Network, it's about building networks and connections organically or now digitally to just generate leads, collaborate in your creations and go from there. And so I want to know, how do you envision connecting, or if you've done it already, how do you envision or how do you do connecting and collaborating for yourself?
Gosh, I don't know that I think about it like that, because like I said, this is kind of hobby for me, and I kind of am like, I'm going to go to, X-Con and do A and B, and go and, go and fumble forth and see kind of what happens. Went to the PucciCon, that was about a month ago. It was great to kind of get back to that. It was weird to spend a night in a hotel room. I used to travel a lot. So my plan is to kind of go to Atlantic City, because that'll be fun. I haven't been to Atlantic City in a while. Go down and kind of like, fumble around and see who I bump into and kind of see where kind of things go from there. I mean, I guess I don't do this with a whole lot of intentionality. I'm just kind of there to be like, this is fun for me. I'm sure it's fun for other people, and let's kind of go and see what kind of connections you can make. I've definitely made some friends the last PucciCon, I definitely picked up on some other people on Instagram that I definitely had talked to. So, he's just going to kind of grow sort of from there. But, I'm kind of out here. I'm kind of open to, don't be shy. Say hi. I don't bite that hard. Come say hi. I don't know. Maybe we'll like each other. Maybe we won't. We'll see.
Yes, I'll be there as well. I'm going to be working as a staff in FujiCon, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person. So that'd be great.
I'll come say hi.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Like I said, on Tumblr, TikTok, and Archive of Our Own, I am Dr. Steggy. That is DrSteggy. I don't think it matters if you capitalize anything. You'll find me. On Instagram, I am Dr. Steggy_cosplay.
Yes. All right. So that's Steggy. It's been such a pleasure, and I thank you so much. Oh, Eternal Question, you say, cool backdrop.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't agree. She's a friend of mine.
Yes. So I really thank you so much for joining me on this second episode, and I look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah, I will make sure I come and say hi.
Yes, and everyone who's joined us live, thank you so much. And if you're going to tune in later, please make sure you leave a comment for Dr. Steggy here as well on the Instagram TV link when this posts up. So take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, take care.
You too.